Welcome to the Teaching Autism and Special Education Community Podcast. Hi, I'm Nikki, a passionate special educator, autism advocate, resource creator with over a decade of experience, and you may know me as the face behind Teaching Autism. This podcast is your go-to place for practical tips, hands-on strategies, and inspiring and funny stories to support special educators all around the world, whether it's building independence, creating engaging lessons, or finding that elusive work-life balance. I'm here to help you thrive inside and outside of the classroom. Let's dive into today's episode and make a difference together. Hey friends, and welcome back to the Teaching Autism podcast. I'm so glad you're here today, especially because we are continuing to dive into those really important topics this month, and that is Autism Acceptance Month. So not just awareness like I've been talking about this month, we are going for acceptance. And if you're here listening, that means you're already doing the work. You're showing up, you're learning, and you're probably already supporting neurodivergent voices in some way. So thank you. Today we're talking about what autism really is. So some of the biggest myths that just won't quit, and what we can all do in schools, families, and everyday life to create a world that's genuinely supportive of autistic individuals. So first up, let's talk about what autism actually is. So autism is a natural neurotype. It's just a different way for individuals to be able to process, experience, and interact with the world around them. It's not something we need to fix. It's not a problem. It's a human variation. So some autistic people might have some very strong sensory preferences. Others may need extra support with communication, social interaction, executive functions, and on the flip side, there are also a bunch of incredible strengths that they have. So think of creativity and honesty, some deep focus, and even empathy, because we are going to talk about empathy today. The one thing to remember is no two autistic people are alike. Autism isn't a checklist. It's a spectrum of traits that show up in different ways and different intensities in all different people. And that brings me to today's podcast, where we are going to bust some myths and share some facts. So myth number one, the one that I see on social media almost every day of my life: vaccines cause autism. Unfortunately, 2025, still having to deal with this one. So here's the thing. Vaccines do not cause autism. This myth has been debunked so many times by so many large-scale studies all around the world. And the original paper that even started this rumor of how vaccines cause autism has already been retracted. The doctor who published it lost his medical license, but the damage has already been done. The paper was shared, the rumors spread like wildfire, and now everyone thinks that vaccines still cause autism. This does so much harm because the truth is that the most leading known cause of autism is genetics. We often see autism run in families, and it can be more common in twins or if a parent's autistic, and even second-born children. So that's myth number one bunked. Myth number two, autism is overdiagnosed. So here is something that I've been hearing a lot over the last 12 months, and that's where people are saying that they think we are overdiagnosing autism. And the thing to remember with this is that we aren't. So this is incorrect. We aren't actually overdiagnosing autism. What we're actually doing is we are getting better at identifying how autism can look in lots of different variations in people that we see. So right now, around 1 in, I think it's 36 children in the United States are diagnosed with autism. And that is still lower than the diagnosis rate for ADHD or learning disabilities as well. And honestly, for so long now, so many of our children, especially girls and others from underserved communities, just slip through the cracks. Now, with more awareness and better tools, more knowledge and research, and less stigma, more people are finally getting the diagnosis and support they've always needed. This is where you may start seeing on social media now that a bunch of adults are getting diagnosed in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I even seen someone in their 60s get their autism diagnosis recently. So this is not a problem. It's progress because we're getting better at diagnosing and recognizing this. And myth number 3, autism only affects boys. So I think this one is a tricky one because autism does not just impact boys. Boys are more likely to be diagnosed, and that's often because most of the early research focused on young boys, specifically those who were white in color. And that's now, I think they've called it sort of stereotypical autism. Whereas girls and other sort of marginalized genders are often missed because they might be better at masking. And you may find that they present with things like sensory processing differences. They may be socially motivated. They may have a lot of anxiety, and they mask very well. But masking can be exhausting. It can lead to burnout, anxiety, depression. And so it can be really hard to identify that, especially in school settings where what you may find is that at home, parents are seeing one side of this child and school is seeing a different side. And then that's where crossed wires are happening. And so this masking can actually delay support and diagnosis because it's not a consistency across all areas. So this is why communication between home and school is so important as well. We really do need to expand how we understand autism and the way that it presents in different individuals and how it presents in different individuals and how it presents in different genders as well. Myth number 4, autistic people lack empathy. This one's a tough one. So I understand where this myth has come from, but I am going to add it to the list of ones that need to be debunked today. So autistic people can absolutely experience empathy just as deeply as neurotypical people, sometimes even more. The difference is in the how. So some people show empathy with eye contact. Some people show it with hugs, whereas sometimes some people may do this by sharing a similar experience or maybe just quietly showing up and being present. So neither of those are better than the other. They're all valid ways of showing empathy. They're just different and personal. So if you start to assume that someone doesn't have any empathy because they don't show it the way that you do or the way that you expect them to, that's not fair. And myth number 5, autism can be cured. Nope. No, autism is not something that we cure. It is not a disease. It's a neurodevelopmental lifelong condition. So think of it like this. You don't cure someone's personality or how someone may experience the world around them. You don't cure that. And that's what autism is. So there are therapies and accommodations and things like that can help to support autistic individuals to have a better sort of experience and day-to-day life. But there's no cure. So a lot of autistic people can and do live very happy lives. Many can be independent and successful. And this is usually when they have the support in place to reach them where they are, instead of trying to make them a little less autistic. Myth number 6. Autistic people are antisocial. So here's the thing. Everyone has different personalities. You know how we are so quick to chat about introverts and extroverts, and that's okay in the neurotypical world. but sometimes we don't see the same in our neurodivergent community. So a common thing that I will hear is that autistic people are antisocial, or they have no social skills, or they don't want to socialize, they don't like socializing, all of these things. And here's the thing. So a lot of autistic people actually do want to socialize and they do want connection, but this can look differently to them. So they may not engage in small talk, but they might like to have really deep discussions, especially about maybe their special interests. They might miss social cues that some of us would recognize, but they don't. And they may be able to make eye contact, but it might look or feel different than maybe what you're used to having. Maybe there's too much eye contact, maybe there's no eye contact, maybe there's just in the middle and they have good eye contact, then they don't, then they do, then they don't. All of this can feel different than what you're maybe used to, but they're not wrong. They're just a little bit different. They're part of that person's personality and neurodiversity. So now that I've debunked some myths, I'm going to share 5 neuro-affirming facts that you may be interested in learning about autism. So number 1, autism is not always visible. Not all autistic people can look autistic. There isn't a look. And many autistic individuals have actually become experts at masking their traits to fit into society's expectations. And this is actually extremely true for females and marginalized communities as well. So just because someone seems fine, it doesn't mean that they're not struggling internally. Fact number 2, stimming is a healthy form of regulation within reason. So things like hand flapping, rocking, humming, or pacing, these are all called stims, and they're incredibly helpful for self-regulation and for helping with focus and being able to calm the individual's nervous system. So stimming isn't a problem that needs fixing. It's a tool for us to respect. Now, the only exclusion to this is if that stim is a risk of harm to themselves or others around them as well. Fact number 3, high functioning and low functioning are actually outdated labels. So these terms, they are so old and so invalid now. They oversimplify what an autistic person's personal experience can be, and this can actually be harmful. So someone who appears to be the label then high functioning might actually struggle deeply with things that you don't see, but because they've already been labeled high functioning, this can affect the support that they get. And someone labeled low functioning may have incredible intelligence or insight and knowledge, but because they have this label, they're automatically dismissed almost. So the takeaway for this is that support needs aren't like a big line. They're not linear. They fluctuate, and this can be based on environment and stress and accessibility, and so many other things come into play as well. Fact number 4, autism often coexists with other conditions. So many autistic individuals may also have a diagnosis and experience things like ADHD, anxiety, OCD, dyspraxia, sensory processing disorder. And this is called co-occurrence, and it's actually very common. So every autistic person's needs are truly unique because they could be coexisting with all these other things going on as well. And this is where we really promote that support should be individualized to that specific person, and there's not really a one-size-fits-all in our world. And finally, fact number 5, and I don't know, maybe this is more of an opinion than a fact, but I feel like it should be a fact. The goal isn't to fix autism. The goal is to build a supportive world. We don't need to change autistic people to make them more more like us and more suited for our world, we need to look at changing systems. So think schools and workplaces and public spaces to make them more inclusive. The problem isn't autism. The problem is the lack of support and flexibility and accommodations and acceptance, and sometimes even understanding and having those very outdated views as well. All right, friend. So that is a wrap on today's myth-busting podcast episode and 5 quick facts. Autism Acceptance Month is about more than a hashtag. It is about giving us the power and opportunity to build a world where our autistic friends are seen, celebrated, and supported, not just in April and not just on World Autism Day, but all year long. If this episode helped you rethink something or gave you language to help someone else understand, I would love it if you would share it. And as always, you can find more resources and conversations like this over on my blog and socials, and I will pop them in the show notes as well. Thanks for being here. Thanks for learning. And most of all, thanks for showing up.